Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to work on a pose called Samakonasana, which translates as the even angle pose or the straight angle pose. And we could consider it as the sideways splits as opposed to the front back splits. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you're notified when a new video is available. We're going to start by using the wall. We need enough space that when we lie with the legs up the wall, we can take the legs out wide, out and down. So as we come into the wall, come in really close with the side hip against the wall. Then as you swivel the legs up the wall, bring your spine down and shimmy yourself in so close to the wall that the buttocks are touching the wall. If your hamstrings are tight, then do come away from the wall enough that the back of the pelvis is on the floor. So we do want the back of the pelvis to be on the floor, and you can definitely bring a blanket in under the head if you feel that your neck needs support, head and neck need support. From here, we bring in the action of the thighs, pressing the thighs to the wall, and then we're going to take the legs out wide one at a time, and then we keep going. And so we might like to use our hands to encourage that opening through the inner leg. So the adductor muscles here are lengthening, and we're pushing out through the heels, lengthening the inner feet away from the groins, and we keep going as far as we can manage, and potentially we can use our bricks as a gauge as to whether we're working one leg more than the other towards the floor. So here I'm starting with the full height of the bricks underneath my outer knees to give me an indication as to whether one leg's more willing to go down than the other. And I'll stay for a few breaths, allowing my body to adjust to this sensation. And then I might find in time I'll be able to take the legs just a little further out and down. So as we stay, let's keep the legs active. Press the head of the thigh, the very top part of the thigh here as it's close to the pelvis, head of the thigh into the wall. Broaden the back of the thighs to the wall, back of the knees to the wall, and go on lengthening the inner feet away from the groins. Now you might find you can try going a little lower. Perhaps you need to angle the bricks as you take the legs a little lower. Give your legs and hips support if you need, or maybe you take the bricks in closer and you have the bricks down on that blade shape. Again, encourage the legs. You can use your hands on the inner thighs to encourage the legs down. And then press the thighs into the wall again. Head of the thighs pressing into the wall to get the sitting bones to anchor towards the wall. Then as we're staying, let's take the arms up overhead, catch hold of the elbows, broaden the lower back ribs towards the floor. We stay and we're remaining active in the legs. Smooth, steady inhalation. Slow, steady exhalation. Notice if one leg wants to roll out more. Sometimes, say for example, my right thigh might want to roll out more. I need to restrain that by rolling the inner knee further towards the wall. So you find out, be curious about your body's expression, what side of the body feels perhaps different, and can you bring in an evenness. Opposite forearm crossing on top. Lower back ribs stay broad towards the floor as the thighs go on pressing back towards the wall. Now, to come out of this pose, you can support the legs. Use your hands around the outer thighs. Bend the knees as you slide the legs in together. Feet are on the wall. Hold the legs, support the legs as you're keeping the legs together. Lower back long and broad, back of the pelvis down. Then we can roll over to the side. Make sure the brick's not in the way. Roll over to the side to come and sit up. For the next variation, I'm going to use 2 bolsters. You may not have 2 bolsters to work with, in which case you can fold a lot of blankets up to create at least 1 bolster if you already have another bolster. But the idea is to have enough height and support under the front body as we take the legs astride and slide the feet away from each other. So for some of us who feel stiff, it may be better to have a chair here in front to come forward onto for support. But if you can manage, whether it's 2 bolsters, a bolster and some folded blankets, we come down and we start to take the legs wide to come forward, hands onto the floor, bring your heels right back to the wall. Now you'll note that my feet are not on a sticky mat. I want to be able to slide my feet. So as I'm supporting myself on the hands, I press the thighs back to the wall, buttocks to the wall, and then I'm going to lift the outer feet up off the floor as I slide the inner feet away from each other and come down onto my support. I'm using the hands to help press my hips back to the wall. I'm staying in contact with the wall, and I can use bricks here to reach the arms forward as I come down. Now, whether you choose to use the bricks under your hands or you want to keep your hands on the floor here, that's up to you. But work the inner feet away from the groins, peel the outer feet back towards the outer hips, and go on suctioning the thighs back to the wall. Now you might find that you can go a little lower, in which case we can come out of the pose by sliding the body forward. Come onto the knees. Then we come up, remove a bolster, and again we slide the legs wide over just 1 bolster. Heels back to the wall. Peel the outer feet up off the floor as you slide the inner feet away from the midline. Come all the way down. And you may need to integrate perhaps just 1 folded blanket on top of a bolster. Find what height is suitable for you so you can maintain the pose without grimacing. So as we sustain this, yes, there will be a challenge, but can we stay steady? Can we remain equanimous to the challenge, equal to the challenge? Press the head of the thighs back to the wall. Peel the outer feet back towards the outer hips. Buttocks and sitting bones to the wall. Now some of you might like the idea of stretching forward, whether you want hands to bricks or hands to the floor like a dog pose. So use the pressure of the hands to help you move the buttocks back and down, back towards the wall. Now, to come out of this pose, again, we come forward. You can push on your bolster so the bolster stays there. Draw yourself forward, bring the knees to the floor, and then we'll come off our bolster. Now I'm going to sit facing the wall and have the legs out wide, inner feet against the wall, and bring myself in closer and closer to the wall. One thing to note, if you sit and you have the legs wide already. Let's say it's a 90-degree angle between the legs, and you find your pelvis is being pulled back and your thighs are turning out, and you can't manage to get that rotation of the pelvis to be on the sit bones, then use a blanket underneath the buttocks. But let's have the feet now as we come into that Samakonasana variation. So initially the legs are at a 90-degree angle. Then we can come in closer and closer by pressing into the hands, sliding the feet away from each other, the inner feet lengthening away from the groins along the wall, and the outer feet peeling back towards the outer hips. And we go in, moving ourselves in closer and closer. You can stay fingertips on the floor as you lift yourself up, chest up, shoulders roll back and down. And some of us might like to stretch the arms up the wall, lean towards the wall enough that your forehead can come to the wall. Lift the navel up, press the head of the thighs down. Stay strong in the action of the legs. Get steady in your breath. Now let's come out of the pose so we can take the hands back to the floor and move ourselves away from the wall. The legs come in narrower and narrower and narrower, and then we might just want to hug the legs in together. Relax those inner thigh muscles. Now finally we will do away from the wall. If we start with the legs in Dandasana, the feet stretching away from us, one leg out wide, other leg out wide, and then I'm using the boundary of my mat as the place that I want to keep my heels within. So as I press into my hands and I lift my hips to bring my hips further forward to the front line of my mat, then I simply want to slide the heels, the inner heels, away from each other, but not forward off the mat. So I can use my hands, I lift up the hips, I slide the heels out, I lift up the hips, I slide the heels out, and continue in that manner until I feel I've reached my edge. So here, again, we want to make sure that the pelvis isn't being pulled back and that the thighs are not rolling back and that we're not dropping our chest. Can we roll the inner thighs down enough, the pelvis moving forward so we're on the sit bones, top of the sacrum in, lumbar spine in, the kneecaps and the toes are facing the ceiling, and we're lengthening the inner feet away from the groins, peeling the outer feet back towards the outer hips. Suck the outer hips in, place your hands together in our Namaskar position. Get steady here. Soften your eyes, soften your facial muscles. Remember that if it's difficult for you to maintain the lift in the lumbar spine, it would be more beneficial for you to sit up on height. Use a blanket to sit on or use a bolster to sit on. That we get steady. We soften our gaze and relax the jaw. And then to come out of the pose, let's take the hips back enough that the legs free up and we can bring the legs together. Simple cross legs so that the adductor muscles can relax. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.